Chapter 4. On Monday at school, Miss Steen told us more about the speech trophy. It was donated by good old Mrs. Wilson, the Lamps' mother. She was always getting her nose into school stuff. It wouldn't be hard to do because her nose was so big. No wonder Tiffany wanted to win that trophy so badly. She probably picked it out herself. Now, this isn't going to be a popularity contest, Miss Steen explained firmly in her teacher voice. Miss Steen was great. Sometimes she used a normal human voice and sometimes a teacher voice. She was really talented. She always seemed to know what we were going to say even before we said it. I guess I've told her too many times that the dog ate my homework because now she knows I don't even have a dog, and she won't let me finish my excuse. I'll have to come up with a different one, like the squirrels used my homework pages to build their nest. The best thing about Miss Steen was that she was fair. She didn't treat the smart kids better than the rest of us. She had only been teaching for a couple of years, but she was the best teacher we'd ever had. Public speaking is an art, she explained. Not only do we gain knowledge from the speaker, but ideally, we'll be entertained. After all, in the real world, if a speech or presentation to a company is boring, it's not going to make an impact. We are not going to make a sale or convince a board to vote for us. I caught the last few words as I studied the eraser on my pencil. I wondered how many pieces I could chew off before it was even with the metal top. I like doing things like that, experimenting with science and all. The world always needs new ideas. I like to help out. Once I even tried to invent my own paper shredder. I figured we had too many old bills lying about the house. Mom always cried when she looked at them. I taped a cheese grater onto the wheel of Mom's exercise bike. Then I made paper airplanes out of the bills and threw them at the spokes while Sam pedaled. It sure clogged up the spokes of that old bike, but it didn't work very well as a shredder. I'll have to try that one again and have Sam pedal faster. Did you hear what I said, Addison? Miss Steen asked. Sure, we have to convince the board to vote for us, I said, just like I'd have to somehow convince the astronomy club board to vote for Mom. She'd never be able to do it on her own. Maybe I could trick Mrs. Wilson into believing that Mom had been abducted by aliens once, and that now she knew everything about life on other planets. I'd tell her that Mom could list all the space movies ever made. Heck, she could probably even list all the characters in all the space movies ever made. Right, something like that, Miss Steen said. She switched to her normal voice. In other words, let's liven things up. We don't want this to be a boring assignment. Have a bit of fun with it. That way, hopefully no one has to be nervous. That was a lot easier said than done. We only had 1 week until we started giving our speeches. Sam had told me almost everyone had theirs memorized. I hadn't even written mine yet. I kind of have this habit of putting things off until the last minute. Things turn out better that way, I think. Like the time I returned a new video game to the corner store just at the last minute. It was due at noon. I got to the door at 11:59. Good thing I did. If I had been there any earlier, I might have ended up in jail. It turns out that Sam's grandma had accidentally let her dog loose in the store. He'd knocked out 2 racks of potato chips and 3 jars of jelly beans. I don't think I would have been able to resist taking some free samples off the floor if I'd been there. Then I might have gotten arrested. Yep, being there just at the last minute worked for me that day. Miss Steen smiled. After the speeches are over on Wednesday, we're going to have a speeches are over, middle of the week party. We'll present the favorite speech trophy and have some food and games. Don't forget, try to make your speech entertaining. We'll all vote for our favorite speech right before the party. Everyone volunteered to bring stuff. I was going to bring the almonds from the stash I had stored for the squirrels, but I decided not to. The squirrels deserved them. When I found out Mrs. Wilson was organizing the party, I knew what I had to do. Mrs. Wilson was on the astronomy board. Mrs. Wilson loved to cook and eat. She also loved to try new recipes. Mrs. Wilson needed to find out about Mom's prize-winning healthy cooking. Well, maybe not prize-winning, but incredibly healthy. That was my plan. I'd impress her with Mom's famous organic fruit punch. Technically, it was called a fruit smoothie, but I preferred to call it lunch. Smoothie sounds too much like baby food. Mrs. Wilson would be begging for the recipe and then begging my mom for more ideas. She'd vote for Mom for sure. I just love the way things fall into place sometimes. But I couldn't put my plan into action right away. I had more important things to do. It was Monday afternoon, and that meant fishing. The creek is deserted on Monday afternoons. The fish like it that way. They like us too. We hadn't caught anything in 2 years. They were safe with us. Sam was hopping up and down when I met him after school. He had opened a battered old book from the library. Adams, he said. Adams what? I asked. I didn't even know an Adam, except for the short guy on the baseball team last year. Atoms, like in science. They're the smallest things you can imagine. Scientists base a lot of physics theories on them, but you can't see them, not even with a microscope. They think they're there because of the reactions of the stuff around them. An atom is a thing that isn't there, but it really is. Sam looked proud of himself. Wormholes, he said triumphantly. Sam was thinking too much. We didn't have to dig wormholes. We were buying bait at the store. I tapped him on the shoulder. Look, I pointed out, we don't have shovels. We're buying our worms today, remember? Wormholes, like in astronomy. Your mom would like this one. Some people believe that there are these things called wormholes. They're like invisible passageways to different parts of the universe in different times, sort of like time traveling. You can't see them, but you can't really prove they don't exist. They're things that aren't there. Whatever, I said, pretending to understand. Sam had worms on the brain, but I decided to write down those two ideas anyway. Even stupid ideas were better than none at this point. As we walked into the gas station to get the worms, I saw Tiffany's older sister, Jennifer, behind the counter. I'd had enough of the Wilsons today, so I tried to get out of there quickly. Sam paid for the worms, and I paid for the popsicles we needed to keep up our energy. I handed Jennifer the exact change. Or so I thought. Thanks for the tip, Addison, Jennifer said with a sickening smile. She was pretending to be sweet, but a sour candy would be sweeter. I must have added wrong, as usual, because what should have been $1.38 suddenly became $1.83 in my head. I had given her too much. Like I said, I'm not too good at adding. Sometimes those dumb numbers just sneak into the wrong place. Sam pushed me out the door before I could grab back my money. Remember the astronomy meeting and your mom, he whispered. Remember, Mrs. Wilson is on the board. Try to be nice. I would rather be nice to a tarantula, but I thought I'd better take Sam's advice, for Mom's sake. We reached the stream and divided the worms in half. Well, Sam did anyway. Did I already mention that I'm not too good at dividing? I plopped my half of the worms into my hat. I always let Sam keep his worms in the carton because I'm such a nice guy. I tried to come up with ideas for my speech. I fished and I thought. I thought and I fished. Some days, the fish just aren't biting. Some days, neither are the ideas.